Close your eyes. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. Feel the weight of your body where you are right now. Safe. Present. Here. You are not rushing anywhere. There is nowhere to go. Just this moment. We are going to explore the quiet corners of the human mind. We will walk through shadows of behavior, not to fear them, but to recognize them. With understanding comes clarity, and with clarity comes peace. Let these words wash over you like distant waves. You don't need to memorize anything. Your mind will keep what resonates, and the rest will fade. The first piece of mental armor we are going to explore is something called the Ben Franklin effect. It sounds like a complicated idea, but it is actually simple and surprisingly common. It shows up in relationships, friendships, and workplaces without most people ever realizing it is happening. The Ben Franklin effect is the psychological tendency for someone to like you more after they do you a favor. At first, this seems backward. We expect that helping someone creates gratitude in them, not in the person doing the favor. But the human mind doesn't always work the way we expect. When a person does something kind or helpful for you, their mind tries to make sense of it. Instead of thinking, I did them a favor because I'm a good person, the mind usually says, I must like them, or else I wouldn't have done this. This is where manipulation sometimes sneaks in quietly. A person may repeatedly ask for small favors. Nothing too demanding. Just a quick review of something. A tiny task. A small bit of help. Over time, these favors quietly create a bond. But the bond forms in you. You start feeling connected and loyal. Not because of what they have done for you, but because of what you have done for them. Your mind rationalizes your effort by turning it into emotional closeness. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you peace. You can protect your mental space by noticing the pattern. Does this person ask for small favors frequently but rarely offer support in return? Do you feel strangely bonded to someone who hasn't earned that closeness? Once you notice this, you can pause. You can ask yourself, does this favor feel mutual, or does it feel like a subtle pull on my energy? That one question brings your agency back into the room. Now, let your mind drift to the concept of triangulation. This is a pattern you will see in families and relationships. It is subtle, but once you recognize it, the structure becomes obvious. Triangulation happens when someone brings a third person into a situation to influence you, pressure you, or destabilize you. Instead of communicating directly, they pull in someone else's opinion. It often sounds like, everyone agrees with me, or people have noticed what you're doing, or your friend told me they feel the same way. These phrases don't create clarity, they create insecurity. They make you feel like you are standing alone against a crowd, even when the crowd might not exist. To protect yourself, gently pull the conversation back to two people. It is as simple as saying, I am open to hearing your thoughts. Let's keep this between us. This single sentence removes the imaginary crowd and brings you back into a balanced conversation. You are not responsible for an entire room of invisible opinions. You are only responsible for your own clarity. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. Now, consider the feeling of intermittent reinforcement. This is the draining pattern behind unpredictability. It is the same mechanism behind slot machines. You never know when the reward is coming. You never know when someone will be warm or when they will be distant. That unpredictability creates emotional attachment. Your nervous system becomes locked into trying to win back the good moment, like pulling a lever over and over hoping for the jackpot. Think of times when someone was affectionate one day and cold the next. Think of a partner who showers you with attention one night, then disappears emotionally the next week. These patterns create emotional guessing. Your mind starts asking, "What did I do wrong? What changed?" You begin to overfunction and walk on eggshells. But the problem is not that you are needy. Your nervous system is simply responding to unpredictability. To step out of this, look at the consistency, not the highs. Ask yourself gently, is this situation steady or unpredictable? Do I feel calm most of the time or anxious? You don't have to confront anyone. You simply stop responding with urgency. You stop trying to win the next warm moment. Repeat softly to yourself, "I choose consistency over chaos." When you stop chasing the reward, the pattern collapses. This flows into the experience of push-pull. It feels like being invited closer and then pushed away. It usually begins with a pull, a strong, almost magnetic closeness that feels like being deeply seen. Then suddenly the push appears. The warmth cools. Communication slows. Distance appears. Because the closeness felt so real, you naturally start searching for what you did wrong. But the shift was likely caused by the other person's internal conflict, their fear of intimacy or need for control. Healthy connection doesn't need to shock your nervous system. It feels steady, not flat, simply steady. When someone pulls away, your grounding practice is to pause and breathe. Let the distance belong to the person who created it. You don't need to fill the silence or earn back the warmth. A calming phrase to hold is, "I don't chase what runs hot and cold." Let's move deeper into the quiet tactics. Consider gaslighting by omission. Most people understand gaslighting as lying, but the most common form happens through what is left out. It is a story with holes, a conversation with gaps. Someone might leave out details that change the meaning of an event, giving you just enough information to form a reaction, but not enough to understand the context. When you react, they might say, "You're overreacting," or "You're making things bigger than they are." This leaves you feeling confused, but not sure why. You start thinking, "Maybe I am too sensitive." But the problem was the missing information. To protect yourself, notice the feeling of confusion. Confusion is usually the first sign that a story is incomplete. You can simply invite clarity by saying, "I feel like there are details missing. Can you help me understand the full context?" If a story consistently makes you feel confused or unsure of your memory, it is not being told honestly. Your confusion is information. Now soften your mind as we discuss love bombing. This feels intoxicating at first. It begins with an avalanche of affection, praise, and constant communication. It feels like you have met someone who finally sees your worth. But healthy love begins with presence and steadiness, not intensity. Love bombing feels like sprinting. They move fast, speak in absolutes, and make promises about the future before understanding the present. The key sign is the shift that comes later. After the overwhelming closeness, the warmth cools and the attention fades. You are left wondering what changed. You protect yourself by paying attention to pace. Healthy connections unfold naturally over time. Ask yourself, is the connection growing or is it rushing? Growth feels steady. Rushing feels overwhelming. Remind yourself, I deserve love that builds, not love that bursts. Drifting further, we find boundary erosion. This happens slowly, rarely recognized while it is occurring. It arrives as a gentle push, a small request, a tiny shift in what is okay. Maybe someone asks you to change your plans or dismisses a preference you expressed. You compromise to avoid tension. Each instance is small, but they add up until your yes becomes the path of least resistance. Slowly, your boundaries fade, and you begin to anticipate their needs before your own. You feel drained and guilty saying no. To reverse this, you simply begin honoring your internal signals again. Pause before saying yes. Ask yourself, do I actually want this? You are allowed to honor your no gently. Boundaries do not require force, they require clarity. A calming phrase is, I am allowed to take up space. This leads us to information withholding. This is a method of control through selective silence. It is keeping details hidden because revealing them would give you clarity, and clarity gives you power. It creates an environment where you are constantly trying to guess and fill in the blanks. It often sounds unintentional. I forgot, or I didn't think it mattered. But the missing details always seem to benefit them. You feel like you are solving a puzzle without all the pieces. To protect yourself, ask clarity-seeking questions. Can you clarify what you meant by that? Or, I'm not sure I understand. Can you tell me more? Trust your emotional cues. If a situation feels unclear, it is often because someone is keeping it unclear. You deserve full information, not fragments. Now feel the weight of guilt tripping. This targets your empathy. It turns your compassion into a feeling of obligation. It arrives as disappointment, silence, or subtle shame. Phrases like, I guess I'll manage, or I thought you cared, are designed to make you feel bad for having needs. It makes you responsible for someone else's feelings. To protect yourself, remember you are not responsible for managing another person's emotions. You can acknowledge their feelings without absorbing them. Say, I hear you're disappointed, but this was the choice that works best for me right now. You can care about someone's feelings without carrying their feelings. We also see push-pull disqualification. This is the cycle of come closer, followed by you don't matter. The person draws you close with warmth, then suddenly creates distance with a subtle insult, a sarcastic comment, or cold withdrawal. This leaves you destabilized, unsure of where you stand. You replay conversations, wondering what you did wrong. But the drop isn't caused by you. It is caused by their inconsistency. To protect yourself, observe the pattern. When they pull away, do not panic and do not chase. Simply pause. Let the distance belong to them. Remind yourself, I'm not here to earn closeness, I'm here to share it. Listen now for micro-invalidations. These are the quietest forms of emotional harm, tiny dismissals that make you question your reality. Phrases like, you're too sensitive, you're reading into it, or it wasn't that serious. Each one is small, but they accumulate, telling you that your feelings don't matter. You start shrinking yourself to avoid these reactions. But healthy people do not make you feel wrong for feeling. Emotions are information. If you notice you edit yourself to avoid being dismissed, that is a sign of your environment, not your weakness. Practice validating yourself. My feelings are real. My perspective is valid. You won't shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. Consider the tactic of forced teaming. This is when someone creates an instant sense of us before trust has been earned. They use phrases like, we're in this together, or you and I, we understand each other. It skips the natural steps of connection. It creates a pressure where asserting a boundary feels like betraying the team. Real closeness takes time. If someone moves too fast, creating intense unity, it is often a strategy. You can gently say, I'm still getting to know you, or I prefer to take things slowly. You choose your team. It is not chosen for you. This links to minimization. This pattern simply shrinks your reality. It makes your hurt seem small and your needs unnecessary. Phrases like, you're making it bigger than it is, or I was only joking, accumulate over time. You start second-guessing yourself, wondering if you are overreacting. But minimization is about control, giving the other person power to decide what is worthy of attention. Reconnect with your truth. Ask, what did I feel in that moment before it was minimized? Your feelings are valid. You don't make yourself smaller for someone else's comfort. Let's explore future faking. This deals in promises, big, beautiful ones about the future that never arrive. They talk about the life you will build or the changes they will make, creating hope. But it is a way to control the present, keeping you invested even when current behavior isn't healthy. It creates a cycle of waiting. To break the spell, look at the present moment. Ask, is there consistent effort? Are words supported by actions? Genuine intention produces movement. Future faking produces delay. You deserve a reality that feels good today, not a fantasy for later. Sometimes control is silent. The silent treatment is a strategic withdrawal. It is the removal of connection to create anxiety. Instead of communicating, they vanish, leaving you to wonder what you did wrong. It forces you inward toward self-doubt. But silence is not always a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their communication limitations. You do not have to chase someone for clarity. You can continue your day and protect your peace. Someone choosing silence does not mean you owe them noise. We also see moral licensing. This is when someone uses a past good deed to give themselves permission to act poorly now. They might say, "I've done so much for you. Why are you making a big deal out of this?" It uses past kindness as a shield for present harm. But kindness does not cancel out harm. A person's goodness does not give them credit to spend on disrespect. Healthy relationships use the past as a foundation, not a weapon. You can hold both truths. This person has done good things, and this behavior is not acceptable. Observe the pattern of tactical ignorance. This looks like confusion or forgetfulness, but it is a choice to avoid responsibility. They act like they don't get it or forgot, so you end up doing the work. They might remember things that benefit them, but forget things that matter to you. This shifts the workload onto you. To break free, stop over-explaining. If someone understands when they want to, they can understand when they choose to. You are not responsible for someone else's deliberate misunderstanding. There is also flooding. This is when someone bombards you with so much information or emotion that your mind can't keep up. It pushes your nervous system past its threshold. They might bring up 10 topics at once or react with explosive intensity. The goal is to overwhelm you so you stop resisting. To break free, slow everything down. Pause. Breathe. You do not have to respond to intensity with urgency. You are allowed to say, "I need time to process." Recognize bait and blame. The manipulator provokes you with a small trigger, a jab or comment. When you finally react, they shift the narrative to blame you for your reaction. Suddenly, you are crazy or dramatic, and the original provocation is forgotten. This makes you doubt your perception. But a reaction to disrespect should never overshadow the disrespect itself. You don't have to apologize for having boundaries. Refuse the hook. Say, "I'm not discussing my reaction until we address what caused it." This leads to controlled confusion. A manipulator might twist facts, contradict themselves, or change stories to keep you unstable. When you don't know what's real, you are easier to control. You spend energy trying to decode the situation rather than evaluating it. Trust your internal compass. Your memory is valid. Write things down to anchor yourself. Confusion is not a sign to try harder. It is a sign to step back. Consider identity undermining. This attacks your sense of self through subtle criticism and doubt. It asks, "Are you sure you can handle that?" disguised as concern. Over time, it turns confidence into hesitation. But the real you waits beneath the layers of doubt. Ask yourself, what did I believe about myself before their voice became louder than mine? You are allowed to reclaim your voice. Notice victim playing. This flips responsibility upside down. When you express a concern, they fold into pain, making you feel guilty for speaking up. The conversation shifts from their behavior to their distress. But you are not responsible for managing another adult's emotions. You can say, I hear that you're upset and we still need to talk about what happened. Their feelings matter and so do yours. Watch for the false consensus trick. This uses the idea that everyone agrees to pressure you. Phrases like, everyone thinks you're overreacting, create a fear of being the outsider. But these others are often vague and unnamed. Agreement is not truth. Your experience is valid even if no one else witnessed it. You don't need group approval to determine your worth. Finally, we arrive at deliberate misinterpretation. This is when someone twists your words or reframes your meaning to create a trap. You say, I felt hurt, and they say, so you're saying I'm a terrible person? You end up defending a meaning you never intended. Disarm this by anchoring yourself. Say, that's not what I meant. Let me repeat it clearly. You don't need to defend yourself against every distortion. Your meaning is valid. We have walked through many shadows. But the turning point is silence. Not the silence of punishment, but the quiet you choose to reclaim your mind. Silence is the pause between reaction and response. It is where confusion clears. When someone pushes for urgency, silence slows time. A calm mind sees truth that a triggered mind cannot. You do not have to fight to prove you are strong. You can simply be strong. Silent. Steady. As we close, take one slow breath in and a longer breath out. You are allowed to understand what once confused you. Knowledge is armor, soft, silent, and powerful. Rest now, knowing that you are grounded in your own truth. We will continue when you are ready.